Welcome to the show, Let Culture Speak. I'm Dan, reporting on new news that I find interesting and my takes and opinions on these stories for entertainment purposes. And on this segment of What the News for this week, we'll be getting into the debate and my off-the-cuff takes on that, polling data on the presidency, recent Supreme Court rulings, Cali Supreme Court blocking a ballot measure giving voters the power to approve or reject future state tax increases. Stay to the end. Camps being built in 50 states in America. What the hell is going on? So I do these videos all by myself, research, produce, and editing. I don't have a team behind the scenes helping me out, and that's okay because I love this. Apologize for the buzzing in the background. I got the fan on because it's hot as shit this week and everyone else feels that way. Please look to supporting me, like, share, subscribe, and follow for more. Appreciate y'all being here. Let's get into it. Let the culture speak. So with the debate, I didn't watch the full 90 minutes because I knew how of a shit show, clown show it is, and I seen the memes and the clips of it, which we're gonna react to clips of the debate. Yeah, it's just bad for Biden. There's just talks of him stepping down. Where's that gonna go? I don't even fucking know. So let's get into this debate.
Support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth.
That is simply not true. We are not for late-term abortion, period.
Okay, so the late-term abortion, it's just crazy enough after 9 months, whatever they want to call what's in there in the belly, but 9 months already is crazy.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with...
What?
Look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it.
There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more...
With the border, it's wide open. I think 85% of the border is not even patrolled by Border Patrol. And it's Biden and Mayorkas who are ushering millions and millions of illegals into America.
Asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families.
Inflation, same with Trump. Okay, he spent $7 trillion. Biden is just spending more trillions of dollars. The deficit, the debt is, what, 36 trillion dollars.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world.
He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion. It was a ripoff of the United States. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. This guy...
He hired so much swamp people. There was no jailing Hillary Clinton. Even though he said he was, there was nothing. He was playing along. I don't know.
He hasn't fired anybody. He's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country.
Presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, They don't respect him, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
This is the thing I agree with him on his foreign policies with Trump. He was tough. Tough. Okay?
Have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America.
He needs help, guys. Look at him. Look at him. He needs help. Yeah, that's it. And now we're just going to get into the polling. It's looking bad for Biden. New York Post, 72% don't think Biden has the mental and physical strength to be president. That's pretty fucking high, guys. Here's a polling of general election, Trump versus Biden. Trump is up. This is America speaking. It doesn't matter who you think is going, or whatever you have your thoughts about these two presidents, man. These are the two candidates. We have no choice. You would think this is a democracy. It's not anymore, okay? Oligarchs, the donors, the people with the big money, 1% controls who becomes our president, okay? That's just my opinion. This is a leaked poll, recent leaking poll from Democrat data firm showing battleground states turning on Biden post debate. Yeah, it's looking pretty fucking bad for the Democrats, and America's speaking up. Doesn't matter if you don't agree with Trump. There's millions and millions of Americans who are looking to vote for Biden. Me personally, I don't like either of them. I have my thoughts about Trump. Biden, I've been following him for 3-4 years now, and it's just horrible. And he lied about the Afghanistan soldiers, which pissed me the fuck off because I have family in the service, and he fucking completely lied.
Such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
Oh
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
They weren't even in
job.
sync on that, yo. Bro, that is such elder abuse. Biden doesn't know what he's doing. His mental capacity has depleted. Yes, in 2020, it seemed like you kind of see it, and now it's just his brain is gone. Okay, dementia patient, and people are talking about him stepping down. But yet, we don't have a choice. It's either Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, probably. I don't know how that's gonna work because it's 2-4 months till election day. Hillary Clinton, possibly. Michelle Obama. These are things that I've been hearing on independent news sites. These are your guys' choices. JFK, independent voting. It's not gonna happen. People are not gonna vote for that. Let's move on to immunity case and other Supreme Court rulings, okay? There's this recent immunity case with Trump. The decision isn't just about Donald Trump, but about future presidents and the protection they'll get from criminal liability. The court created 3 categories. 1, actions only a president can take, like appointing ambassador, have absolute criminal immunity. Number 2, actions where you're not acting like a private citizen, but high-ranking officials can also do them, get a presumption of immunity. 3, actions like a private citizen have no immunity. Duh. This affects the DC and Georgia cases against Trump, but also defines protection for any chief executive. Judge Juan Merchan has postponed former President Trump's sentencing in the New York hush money case. The delay, granted after request from Trump and no objection from Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, moved sentencing to September 18th, an appropriate exercise of judicial restraint to go through each piece of evidence and determine which bucket it falls in for presidential action. So it could add a lot of time, not only to this case, but also many of the other cases. Let's move on to the other recent court rulings. Supreme Court shakes up laws impacting homelessness and protesters. In a stunning turn of events, the Supreme Court has handed down rulings that will drastically reshape how laws affect homeless population and those charged in the wake of the January 6th Capitol riot. Homeless camping laws get the green light. The court has given the city's thumbs up to enforce laws banning sleeping on public streets even when shelters are full. This decision in the city of Grants Pass v. Johnson greenlights ordinances that criminalize homeless people for simply trying to find a place to rest. Supporters argue it will keep communities clean and safe. Critics warn it's a short-sighted solution that punishes people for being poor. January 6 charges in jeopardy. Hundreds of protesters who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6 may see their charges dismissed thanks to the Fisher v. United States ruling. The court determined that the obstruction of an official proceeding charge doesn't stick for those who weren't directly interfering with the electoral count. This could mean freedom for many Americans facing decades behind bars. A blow to big government. In a seismic shift, the Supreme Court has overturned the Chevron case, a 40-year-old precedent that gave federal agencies sweeping powers. So this is fucking good, okay? The Loper-Bright Enterprises v. Raimondo ruling means agencies can no longer interpret laws however they please, with courts rubber stamping their decisions. This is a major win for businesses like Loper-Bright, a fishing company facing bankruptcy due to unlawful fees imposed by regulators. The Chevron case empowered agencies to act like mini legislators, expanding their own authority at the expense of businesses and individuals. Spike Cohen explains, for 40 years, courts have deferred to agencies' interpretations even when they defy the actual law. This ruling is a check on that power and victory for accountability. These rulings will have far-reaching consequences, impacting everything from how we address homelessness to the balance of power in our government. One thing is certain: the Supreme Court is willing to shake the status quo and put government in check. So these rulings are very, very good. Let's get into the California SCOTUS. Measure to restrict tax increases cannot appear on November ballot. California Supreme Court rules. In a stunning move, the California Supreme Court has blocked a ballot measure that would have given voters the power to approve or reject future state tax increases. The court's decision, which came just days before ballots were to be finalized, has sparked outrage among supporters of the measure. The measure in question would have required voter approval for any future hikes in state taxes. But in an unanimous ruling, the California Supreme Court declared that the measure violates the state constitution and cannot appear November ballots as planned. Writing the court, Justice Goodwin Liu argued that the changes proposed by the measure would substantially alter our basic plan of government and could be enacted only through a revision the state's constitution. Governor Gavin Newsom's office applauded the court's decision, with spokesperson Izzy Garden stating the governor believes the initiative process is a sacred part of our democracy. If it's part of our democracy, why the fuck are you pulling it off the ballot? Democracy, my ass, okay? But as the court's decision affirmed today, that process does not allow for any illegal constitutional revision. But backers of the measures were quick to denounce the ruling. Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones and Senator Brian Dahl, both major supporters of the measure, accused the court of effectively erasing the voice of more than 1 million voters who have signed petitions to put the measure on the ballot. The court has failed in its duty, the people of California and our democratic system, and instead simply caved to pressure from governor and legislative Democrats, they said in a statement. Rob Lapsley, another key backer of the measure, even further calling the court's decision a slap in the face to California citizens by judges at the request of very people who want to raise our taxes time and time again. And I did a video on Prop 47. They don't want Prop 47 on the ballot also. Governor Newsom is pushing to get that removed. Check out that video. Okay. It's just crazy right now. These camps, yo. Imagine this. You're at home, then soldiers burst in, seizing your property. They burn your house to the ground, forcing you into a concentration camp. This wasn't Nazi Germany. It was Okinawa. After World War II, the United States did this, displacing 300,000 civilians to build military bases. And it gets worse. In the aftermath of the war, the U.S. deliberately starved close to 1 million German prisoners to death. This was the dark side of American power, used not against enemies on the battlefield, but against civilians and prisoners. The abuse of power didn't stop with World War II. The Subversive Activities Control Act of 1950 paved the way for concentration camps to hold American dissidents in Vietnam. The U.S. forced 8 million civilians into prison camps under the disguise of depriving the enemy of support. Fast forward to the War on Terror. The Patriot Act, passed after 9/11, declared that American citizens could be enemies of the state. It opened the door to mass surveillance and detention without trial. The signs were there before 9/11. Films in the late 90s warned of a future where people accepted neighbors being rounded up and imprisoned. We saw it at the WTO protest, the 2004 Republican convention, and after Hurricane Katrina, where police went door to door seizing guns. And then came the legal framework for martial law. In 2006, President Bush amended the National Defense Authorization Act, giving the president the power to declare martial law and detain Americans indefinitely. The next year, he signed Directive 51, allowing the president to take total control of the government in an emergency. This is documented history of how America, a nation founded on freedom, has repeatedly used its power to detain, deport, and deprive its own citizens and others of their basic rights. It's a history we must confront to prevent it from happening again. So I have a video. Allegedly, FEMA prison camps are being built all over the world, and they are for whoever the government sees as a threat to their agenda.
Over 30 million, upwards of 43 million illegal immigrants that have poured across the border during Biden's presidency. And the federal government is building massive facilities that can sleep tens of thousands of individuals all across the country. You probably haven't heard about these large facilities, have you? Well, why are they being built? Who are they for? We might finally have an answer. Listen.
I interviewed this past weekend. Her name is Christy Hutcherson, and she runs an organization called Women Fighting for America. But her background was federal contracting, and more specifically, abroad, but specifically, she worked on forward operation bases, FOBs, in military war zones, where she would put up these giant soft-sided facilities, water, food, etc., etc. So we're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, right, that have transferred from her company, which she no longer is a part of, but she has access to all the bid contracts. So I'm interviewing her, and like I said, I have a very good understanding of what the hell's going on in America under this immigration invasion. But when I speak to people that are very dialed in on very specific areas, I'm shocked. And she tells me, and I didn't know this because I don't have access to it. She has access to the federal database where you can go on a website and there are endless bids for contracts from whatever. But she's focusing in on, she says to me, there's bids for detention facilities being built in all 50 states in America.
It's not for these illegals, especially let's go off the numbers that they're telling us that there really are. They're saying, 11 million? In reality, I can tell you right now, with talking to all of the agents that I've talked to, private sector, looking at the cameras and all the real data, we're over 30 plus million who've actually entered this country.
Yep.
And so even with that, even though that's enough to replace about 36 states population, Why would they need to continue to do that if they're trying to absorb these guys, make them productive members of our society, get them into housing, because we know that there are already housing projects being coordinated with builders, again, with our money. I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
And I said, okay, hold on a second. Say that again. She says, okay, I can go into a database because my company used to bid on all this. And I bid overseas, international contracts. Very, very intelligent woman, very, very connected. And she says, I go in the database, JJ, and there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? Are they built for all the illegal aliens or the unaccompanied alien children? Of course not.
So it's not for illegal immigrants? Who is it for? Dissidents?
So yeah, that was Clayton Morris on Redacted and former DHS JJ Carroll. I appreciate you guys. I listen to you guys. You're like my #1 independent news. You guys are great, so I appreciate that. Just me talking about these specific things and giving my takes on it, that goes against what the government is planning, their agenda. They don't want me to talk about it and actually wake up the people I know and the people that are listening to me right now. They don't want you to wake up and see the truth of America. This is the reality of America, and it's a scary time. Be careful, be prepared. I don't know. So I appreciate you guys. That's it for this week. I'll be here next week on What the News. Next video, let culture speak, where I talk about more celebrity, sports news, culture news, things that I like to get into. So look out for that. Like and subscribe for more. Appreciate y'all being here. Peace out.